everyone. Welcome to Make Moments Matter, a music education podcast where I share lesson ideas, songs, games, and inspiring things for your elementary music classroom. My name is David Rao, and I am the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. This episode of the podcast is a replay containing the audio version of a Musical Mondays live video. If you're not familiar with Musical Mondays, every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, I go live on Facebook and Instagram to share about the lessons that I'm using in class with my students. I give a recap of my kindergarten through 5th grade lessons, and then do a deep dive about one grade level and share the books, instruments, songs, and process that I use to teach the lesson to kids. This podcast episode contains all the audio from the Musical Mondays video, but if you'd like to see a replay of the video itself, you can find a link to the archived video on YouTube when you click the link in the notes for this episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. Here's the show. Hey everyone, my name is David Rao, and I'm the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. You can also find my ideas on Facebook, on Instagram, on Patreon, on Pinterest, a variety of places when you search for my name, David Rao, or Make Moments Matter. Tonight, I am sharing my end of semester Q&A, and I know you're going like, it is not the end of the semester, it is only Thanksgiving break, and some of us aren't even on Thanksgiving break yet. I totally get that. However, I only do 15 of these videos every semester, and so this is video 15. So if you made it to this video and you're like, why does he mean end of semester? That's what I'm saying. It's like the end of these videos for this semester. Thanks to everyone who left questions. If you have a question you want to ask me, you can pop it in the chat now and I'll try and get to it. There are a couple that we're going to try and hit. Okay, so a couple of quick things. I am getting over what my students gave me before Thanksgiving break, which is a cold. Woo! So if I sound a little weird, that's why. If you hear anything in this video that you're like, this is so interesting, I want to find more about that, I have a whole page on my blog dedicated to the links and things I talk about. If you go to makemomentsmatter.org/video, you can find all those links and things that I'm talking about. Okay, if you are like, hey, these videos are cool, but I want to see you in person, guess what? In the spring, I'm doing several different workshops. A couple you can plan ahead for. End of January, January 31st, I'm going to be at the Colorado Music Educators Association in Colorado Springs. I'm excited about that. A week later, on February 7th, I'm going to be in Kentucky at the Kentucky Music Educators Association. March 1st, I'm going to be at Central Ohio, which is in Central Ohio Orff Chapter, which is in Columbus, Ohio. And then on March 8th, I'm going to be at the Utah Orff Chapter, which is in Salt Lake City. So if you're in any of those places, and maybe a couple more things to be announced, but working those out. If you're around those places, I'd love to see you and hang out next spring. So let's plan ahead. Okay, a couple other things. If you are like, I want more of these videos, I want more training, David, why is this the last one of the semester? Guess what? This is year 7 of doing this. And there are tons and tons of videos you can go back and look at for fall content, holiday content, just random everything content. I put a link on the links page to like the Musical Mondays archives. Or if you're like, I want ideas because I know Black Friday is coming up and there are going to be sales and stuff. I put a link to my favorite Amazon stuff, to books list. Not that you have to buy those books from Amazon, but I put the list on Amazon because it's easy to just sort of collect them all in one place instead of saying like, well, check out this link and then this link. And it's all in one place and you can then get the ISBN and all that information. So that's there if you want it. Also, this, for like the first time in forever, I get the full week off for Thanksgiving, which is crazy, which is why I'm wearing pajamas, which is why I'm in my brand new, if you're listening to this podcast, I'm so sorry you can't see this, but it has nutcrackers on it. It says, we march to our own drum. I got it at a thrift store. It is super comfortable. I know it's just a pajama top, but I'm going to wear this to school. I don't care on pajama day or not pajama day. It's a long sleeve t-shirt. You can't tell me that's not normal whatever day wear. Anyway, so I'm going to wear this. I'm so excited about it. And I got a thrift store for like $3 or something. Who would give this away? I don't understand. But anyway, this is my week off for Thanksgiving. And so I am not just like laying on the couch with my dogs and doing jigsaw puzzles. I mean, I am doing some of that, but I've also been doing a lot of stuff on Teachers Pay Teachers. I've been doing some updates and adding some new things. In fact, I just added a new product, which is like musical symbols and musical information in these like cool, colorful, like Christmas holiday light bulb things. It's half off for the rest of today. If you're interested, go check that out. Also, I'm doing a lot of updates to stuff. TPT authors, we go back to old products and we update them all the time. One of the things is all my interactive games about a year and a half ago, the company that hosts them was like, hey, there's this weird technical glitch. You have to change all of your URLs. So that meant I had to change all the URLs and all the QR codes. So if you are going back to a game that you purchased from me like a long time ago and you're like, why doesn't this work? I should email him. Download the update first. And then if it doesn't work, email me. But I've updated all those URLs. So if you're like, this isn't working, there might be a fix. But like one of the other things I did today was if you have any of my bulletin boards with like every month is a set of 30 different musician profiles, and it's musicians who are born that month. There's a bundle of it called Rockin' All Year. If you have any of those, I went back and I added all calendars for 2025 and made tweaks and edits to different profiles and things. I try and go through every year and make adaptations and stuff. So those changes, if you have purchased any of that stuff, go back and look. Or any resource, if you're like, oh, this is odd, maybe is there an update? If there's an update, you have access to it in TPT under my purchases. So check that out. Lots of updates and things going on. And if you want to get this for only $2, it's pretty colorful, pretty exciting. Anyway, and it's on there right now. It's $2 until tonight at midnight. Okay, that's all the back stuff, all the housekeeping stuff I got to talk about. So let's get to your questions. So y'all gave me some really fun questions over the last week. If you have questions, like I said earlier, if you have questions you want me to address, pop them in the chat. I'll try and catch those and answer them. So the first question is, someone was talking about concert prep and said, let's see, do you ever run into dead ends with programs or have a hard time finding the flow of the program? Further, have you had time to adjust and tweak where it's at? Have you just cut a theme completely? I'm doing a Texas program. It's been so difficult to figure out what I want to do, even had to switch some things around so I had more time. We're going to stick with it, but this is frustrating. Okay, so the assumption is that this person is making their own concert, because I know you can. There are some people call them canned programs where you buy a book and it comes with a CD and all the speaking parts and all the stuff all in one place. And no shade to that. Those are great. Some are great, some are not. Like any program, anything you buy, how you use it, when you use it, whatever. You can find some really, really great stuff and some really things that your kids will love. So no shade to canned musicals. But this person is talking about they're creating their own. They found their own theme. They're doing their own thing. Have I ever gotten stuck with stuff? Yes, all the time. What I tend to do is I like to think about like a year in advance. I like plan out what I think the theme will be. And then all year long, as I like go to workshops or look through books or whatever, as I'm going through, I go, oh yeah, I'm planning on doing X, Y, and Z thing next year with this grade. And so I pull that out and set that aside. So by the time I actually have to sit down and decide, like, this is what I'm going to do for the concert, I have a list of ideas, songs, things I could pull from. So if, like, for example, the concert that I'm doing in March is The Day the Crayons Quit, the book, based on the book, with my second graders. I have been pulling stuff for that all year long. I know there are people online, other teachers who have done this book, and I have reached out to them and said, hey, can I look at what you did? And so I think part of the trick is planning in advance and pulling all that stuff as you go throughout the year. So like I have tentative ideas for what I want to do, not this school year, but next school year, so that as I'm planning going through the year, so it's not like a mad dash in the 10 weeks before a concert. So I'm like planning sort of ahead and thinking ahead as I go. Have I ever gotten stuck? Yes. And sometimes for the better. So like last year, I thought I was going to do something about like community partners. Like my fourth grade program every year has a portion of it is dedicated to veterans and honoring veterans. It's around Veterans Day. It's not just a Veterans Day program, because I think I would go crazy if every year I had to teach like only patriotic songs and the same exact ones to fourth graders. I would go nuts. So it's like lightly based around Veterans Day, but there is a part in it that is dedicated to veterans. We do every year. But the rest is sort of up to me. So last year I was like, maybe I'll do like community partners. Like veterans can be one of the like jobs that you could have. And I could do something about like firemen and something about like police officers and something about like frontline workers and medical fields or so. Like that was like the general idea. And as I was like pulling things, I did not like it. What I was pulling together, I was like, oh, I could maybe do this, but I don't really love, I don't know. And then I was inspired by Taylor Swift. And I was like, oh my God, the Eras Tour. It's like so cool. What if I did something Eras Tour? What is Eras Tour? And then I was like, what if I did America, the Eras Tour? And so that's like what I came up with. And then it was like, oh, then things started falling into place. So I think the first thing is you have to find a theme you really love, and then go from there. Sometimes you'll find that theme you'll really love and you will still struggle. And that's when you reach out and say like, hey, does anybody have blah, 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 blah. And maybe not just like a random, like on one of those Facebook groups, like, hey, send me all your favorite blah, 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 and go. Because every time I see those posts on Facebook, I'm like, it stresses me out. And I don't feel like you always get a lot of great answers from it. Like sometimes, but not always. So whenever I say like, hey, oh, I need ideas, I email my like 6 bestie teacher friends first, like, hey, have you done this before? Have you done anything like this? What do you think? What was your idea? And it's like, here's my idea. Not like you must give me ideas, but like, here's my idea. Do you have anything that comes off the top of your head? And I have people who email me the same thing too. And so I send them back ideas like, oh, I did this, blah, blah, blah. So I reach out to my friends first. I start pulling in books. I do all that. And then those things sort of come together. And yes, sometimes I midstream will change what I had planned to do. Like last year, I had planned to do a concert about like fairy tales. Like that's what I thought I was going to do. And I thought every like song would be based on a different fairy tale. And then as I was developing, I was like, but actually instead, what if, like, because I found, I was like looking for fairy tale books and dragons and stuff. And I kept finding all these great dragon books. So I was like, no, it's going to be fairy tale themed, but each class is going to have their own dragon book. There's going to be a lot of dragons involved. And then like the beginning and end will be sort of fairy tale. So like it changes, it morphs. But I would say in general, find a theme you really like, plan way, way, way in advance. So you have lots of options to pull from, and then go from there. That's my like general concert prep advice. I don't know if that even answered your question. I hope it kind of did, but thoughts about concert. Okay. Someone else said, holiday sing-alongs. It's my first year at a new school. I have done one every year. Do you do one? How do you do it and what do you include? The answer is no, I do not do a holiday sing-along. Not because I'm like opposed to them, but because my school does not require it. And there's already enough going on in December. So I don't like push for it. Also, what I've found is like, I teach different songs to different classes in different years. Like 3rd grade learns O Tannenbaum, and 1st grade learns We Wish You Merry Christmas, and kindergarten learns Sleigh Ride. And like, I mean, they do different things for different reasons. And so I don't teach all holiday songs to all grades every year. So the idea that they could all sit in a gym and sing the same songs, it doesn't work with like how I'm teaching. It'd be like if you say like, we're going to invite the whole school for a whole school game of volleyball. Well, volleyball is more advanced than what some of the younger kids can do. And while they could like play with the ball, I don't know that it's really going to be memorable or like beneficial for them. So in my head, the idea of like an all school sing along pedagogically doesn't make sense. Okay. But there are some schools that are like, but we've been doing it forever. Okay. Well then if you're like, but I have to, what am I going to do? That is tricky. I don't know. Because what songs are you going to sing? How many songs do you have to do? Do you have to fill a whole hour? Do you have to fill a half hour? What songs can you do? Are you at a religious school? Are you not at a religious school? I think if you're the like best case scenario for a holiday sing along is you are at a Christian school and you can do any song, religious or not, because there's so many you can do. If you're not at a Christian school and you're like, but I only want to do things that would make sense for my audience, then you're kind of limited. So a couple of years ago, I had to do some things. And what I did was, it wasn't a whole school, it was like K3 or K2 and then 3-5. And what we did was we did a couple songs that were like, we found some cool YouTube sing-alongs. So there was a backing track, so it wasn't just completely quiet. So like there was somebody singing that they could sing with. And then we also found some like Just Dance or like Move It things that they could do as well. So they weren't just sitting and singing for forever songs that maybe they did or didn't know. Anyway, all that to say, I don't do a sing along, and I applaud the people who have the time and energy to do that, or who have made it through even though their school forces them to do it and they don't want to do it, or whatever. But I know that there are some people who are very successful, and so I would say that's a Google search kind of thing. There's some really cool sing-alongs on YouTube. Also, I feel like Aileen Miracle had maybe something on TPT for that a couple years ago. Like I remember like looking at it when I was needing to do it. So just say some research and see if you can find something you really love. Okay, another question. Assessment strategies for student self-assessment, formative and summative. How to navigate this with hundreds of students. Pencil, paper, digital, help. Okay, well that is a very big question. That could be like a 9-week course, right? Where you go 3 times a week for an hour. That's a lot. How do you balance assessment? It depends on what your school wants. Do they want standards-based assessment? Are you assessing specific goals and skills? Is it just a general, you're assessing whatever you think you need to assess? I mean, like it really depends on what it is you need to assess. Also, I think it depends on, is your whole school doing this? Like, do kids understand the concept of self-assessment because they're doing it in their homeroom? That makes your job way easier. Do students understand assessment? Are they used to doing it on iPads? Are they used to not doing it on iPads? You know, like it kind of just depends. Can you do it in small groups? Can you do it in, I don't know. I once was at a school where we had to do data from before and after with 5th grade, and we had to do paper pencil. That made it very easy because the district gave us the guidelines of what we had to assess, and it told us we had to do it paper pencil. So it was like super simple. I think the trick is figuring out like, what does that look like for your school? What does that look like for you? What are you most comfortable doing? Me personally, when I assess, I am not doing a paper pencil assessment because so much of what we do in the music room is experiential. In my classroom, I know there are some teachers who do things where they do a lot more presentations of stuff, or do more things in workbooks, or do more things from textbooks. And so maybe for them, it makes more sense to do like a paper pencil thing. For me, that doesn't make sense because that's not how I teach. So for me, it's a lot of informal assessment. It's a lot of, as kids are singing a song, like wandering through and going like, this kid isn't matching pitch, or this kid is doing it, or a lot of watching, you know, as they're drumming, are they keeping the steady beat? You know, like whatever the standard thing is that I'm assessing. Maybe it's steady beat, maybe it's 16th notes, maybe it's whatever, and going. And what I find is maybe easiest to do is taking a big class roster and only marking down the kids who are not meeting the assessment. Because if you go through and do like individual each kid, sort of there, kind of there, whatever, you know, it's like, because we teach K through 5 or K through 8 or whatever you're on, we see a spectrum. And so like over time, they're going to get caught up because they're going to see over multiple years. So like theoretically, right? So for me, it's kind of like, okay, steady beat, this kid doesn't have it yet. So I mark down on, you know, September 8th or whatever day it is, or, you know, I'm assessing on October 5th or whatever. As I'm assessing, I just go through and mark the kids who are not getting it. So then over time, I can see like, are they getting it this day? Did they get it this day? And so it's a lot of assessment in the moment. It's not announced. It's not stop everything, we're assessing this thing. It's as we're going, I'm assessing. And sometimes I mark it down and sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's informal. Sometimes it's not saved informal, you know? So, but for me, I would say the best thing for me is being able to go through and assess over time, slow incremental things. But again, that depends on, is your school allowing that? Do they want a more formal assessment? Do they want data? Like, how do they want it? Do they want it on digital? Do they, you know, it kind of depends on what your school wants you to do. If you don't have any requirements, I would say you find the thing that works best for you. And if there are requirements, I would say it depends on your specific system and how they're making that work. Okay, that's, like I said, you could talk about assessment for years. I mean, it's tricky and it changes all the time. Okay, another question. This is a fun one. Teaching the Nutcracker to 4th and 5th grade. I'm curious about order, resources. I already used the activities from Artie Almeida. Okay, while I'm wearing a Nutcracker shirt, I don't teach Nutcracker to the 4th and 5th graders. Why? Because I do a lot of it in kinder, first, second, and third. The culmination being third grade when we watch the Nutcracker Ballet. Um, so I don't really do it in fourth and fifth grade because I've had a lot of it in K through 3, but also because my performances for fourth and fifth grade happen to fall in November and December. And so there's not a lot of chance for me to teach anything else, but to teach other stuff in November, December. So I don't do a lot of Nutcracker with fourth and fifth grade. That's just the way it works for me. Maybe there are other people who do, but just because of that, like where the concerts fall, and also because I hit it so hard K through 3, I don't have a lot of resources for that. But I hope people will chime in and say, oh my gosh, I do. And here's the thing. And if you're watching, listening, you're like, but David, I do all of that. Please leave that in the comments and I will forward it to the person who asked that question, or just post it on my Facebook page so y'all can all see that. Okay. Someone also said, let's see, here's another good question. What are your favorite things to leave for emergency subplans K through 2? I also teach double self-contained classes. Our subs don't have access to technology. Whoa, that's a lot. Okay, so what do you leave as emergency subplans for K through 2? With K through 2, I tend to leave a lot of books, a lot of like videos that they can like dance along to, move along to, sing along to, a lot of coloring pages, a lot of, and just variety of all those things. And then some, like, there are some DVDs, videos, things that I love to use, like Carnival of the Animals, or I mean, there's just some different cool sort of things that are easy to leave for younger grades. Coloring pages are something that I feel like are very easy to do. I have like 4 different versions. I have one that I bought on TPT years ago that's instruments. I have one that I made a couple years ago and is on TPT that is coloring pages for instruments. One that's animals holding instruments. So just a couple different things like that that seem to work pretty well for younger kids. They like to color. They like to take it home with them. Also, I have done in the last 2-3 years a series of resources called Book Companions, and I've made, I think, 21 of them. So there are these 21 books. I don't think I have one right here at the moment. Do I? No, I don't have one right in front of me, but there are 21 and they're linked on my links page. And basically, if you have the book, the sub can read the book. I sometimes will record myself reading in case it's like you sing the book or whatever, or there's a sung element. So sometimes I'll record that. But usually I leave the book for the sub to read. And then along with it are, for older grades, like an essay worksheet, a worksheet with multiple choice. There are also, for younger grades, there's like just coloring pages. There's sometimes like word matching, like easier things for younger grades. So there's the book and then worksheets or coloring or whatever. There's also, if you do have technology, if you're listening to this and you're like, I'm not the person who has no access to technology, but there's also a PowerPoint with like information about the musician's life that the book is based around, or maybe it's based around the bassoon. Well, it gives more information about that. A link to a page with like links to media and stuff and found online. And the subs that I've given that to have really liked it because it's like read the book and then choose this path, this path, this path, or this path. And so it's like choose your own adventure for the sub. And if they're more comfortable, just like, I just want to hand out the worksheets, okay. Or if they want to like read through the PowerPoint about the person's life and then do the worksheets, they can do that. Or if they just want to do like the PowerPoint and then watch videos, they can do that. It gives the sub options when I know there are subs who they walk in and they're like, I thought I was going to teach second grade. I'm teaching music? What? And so having a physical book there for them to read, they usually feel comfortable reading aloud, subs do, and then giving them some sort of extra thing that goes with it to sort of extend that lesson in whatever way they feel most comfortable. Has been really, really helpful. So that's like my number one thing I leave for subs. And like I said, I'm lucky that my subs have access to technology so they can take that route if they want. But if you're in a place where you're like, I don't know, maybe that, there's the book, and then you can print off like the coloring pages, the worksheets, or things like that, that for younger grades, depending on the book or depending on the grade, like second grade, they can do some of that worksheet stuff too. And it gives them something that they can do for your class. And like when I would leave that for my class a couple of years ago, and it was just 30 minutes, that was like perfect. Now that my classes are an hour long, I have to supplement that because I can't just leave like the one book and resources. It's not really enough for an hour, depending on the sub you have. But it has been really, really helpful for subs to leave that and to go like, here's this thing, you get to choose what it is you decide you want to do with it. Okay. That's most of the questions, and no one's left any questions in the comments, I guess. So there's none, which is great. I'm answering all the questions that anyone's ever had. There's one more. Yes. Okay. I knew there's one more. I have a hard time keeping my students engaged when learning more about how to play the recorder. What is something I can add to my routine? A game, maybe, that would help them continue to be excited. I've tried learning as a class, which they've grown about, and learning songs of their own, which they don't seem to have the skills for, even though I go through how to figure out notes and write the music, but nothing keeps them excited. They seem to end up frustrated instead of having fun. So I have my perspective before I took ORF levels and after I took ORF levels, and they're different. My answer for this. My answer before would be like, oh, I don't know, like go on TPT or go on Pinterest or go and find some stuff. And sometimes there are games and things that get kids more interested or whatever, and that's cool. And even now I use some of those things because I mean, kids, it depends. Recorder's tricky because they're like doing 8 different things, right? Like if you, from what it sounds like, you're having them reading from music, like staff, it sounds like, because you talk about how the skills to go through and figure out the notes, which sounds like reading on the staff. So if they're reading on the staff, that's one cognitive skill. They're also having to stay in time with other people. That's another skill. They're having to use air in a controlled way. That's another skill, a refined skill. They're also having to do potentially 2 different hands doing different things, which is then another whole skill. So like recorder is a lot of different things. And there's the whole interpersonal communication and trying to keep up, and do they have a learning disability? And I mean, like all these things play into, are they successful playing the recorder? And it's silly to say like, they're not very good at this. It's the first time they've ever done this probably. And how early are you putting them on record? So like recorder itself has its own issues that we have to think through when you're deciding, are they successful or not, right? But my answer post ORF levels is, you should not treat the recorder like a pre-band instrument. You should not teach the recorder as if you are teaching a band instrument. If you're teaching the recorder in a way that's like, here are the notes on the staff, let's read them and play them, here's a song you can do, kids are going to burn out pretty quickly. And no shade to band teachers, my partner's band teacher. The band method is specific for band, and it does get boring for kids. And those are 5th graders who are like, at the peak of their learning ability and ability to do things. So it's tricky, and to treat the recorder like that doesn't always work, doesn't generally work. So what I find with kids is the more that we echo, the more that we play around, the more that we improvise, the more that we include like children's books where like there's a part that keeps coming back where I can teach them a song they wrote and then like they get to play that as like a refrain. They are way more invested because they are successful faster. If it is, you have to learn how to read on the staff, and you have to learn these 3 notes, and you have to control them in this very specific way. And if you're playing at the wrong time, it sounds wrong. They're going to get burnt out way faster because there's so many cognitive processes that could be tripping them up along the way. So the more that you can have them like echo you, or play it as a game, or play a refrain for a book, or do something where it is less stress, or choose, to improvise whatever they want within those specific notes you give them, then they're going to be way more invested because they're going to feel like have success. I'm able to do what I want to do. I'm playing with other people, and it sounds, all chaotic, but like we're all doing it together. They're going to be more successful, more quickly, earlier on in the process. So that's like that doesn't really answer your question. That's like a philosophy thing, right? But I would say if you have trouble keeping your students engaged, it might be that the way you're teaching recorder is slowing them down. So that's why I would say ditch the idea that you're teaching it pre-band, because how many of those kids are going to be in band? All of them? Maybe. If you're a lot of them, cool. Are they all going to play woodwind instrument? So then why like, is it really, are we doing this for band or are we doing this for life, right? So with kids, I like to treat it as like I do like a xylophone or a tambourine or something else. It's just another thing that we use in the classroom, but now we get to do it melodic. So what are ways that I would scaffold, like a xylophone lesson, or what were ways that I would scaffold like a non-pitched instrument lesson? I try and take that mindset as I go into a teaching recorder and think like, well, I want to focus on these 3 notes. How can I do that? Is there a song that we could use? Is there a book that we could do where we add in a little part? How could we put that together? Could we put building block pieces together? Could we add it in with the xylophone? So half kids are playing xylophones and half are playing recorder because they're way more, but I don't mean I mean like pitch percussion instruments. They're way more successful on those than they are recorders. So can I have them do a little bit of this and a little bit of that? Is the whole day recorder or is it just part of it? So like instead of just like sit in your space, sit up nice, right? Sit up tall, nice, perfect posture, play these notes, hot cross buns, do it 2 times. Okay, remove it. Like instead of the rigidity of what feels like a pre-band setting, it's more just like, but it's just our classroom and we're integrating in a different way. Okay, I don't think that answered your question at all. I'm really sorry to whoever asked that. But the thing I would say is the more that you go into recorder with this idea of if we want it to be fun, we want them to love playing this, and less like we must be able to play merrily we roll along, you're going to have way more fun. The less you are tied to them reading notation, the more they're going to have fun. The less you are tied to we must get to this specific thing, and the more you are to I want them to feel comfortable playing these notes on this instrument, the more successful you're going to be. Okay, that was like a lot of philosophy and like thought at the end of quarter. Okay, it's not even a quarter. I still so many weeks to go. But as I said at the beginning of this video, I know that this video is titled End of Semester Q&A, but like I only do 15 of these a semester, only 15 a semester. So I'm at the end of my run. So I'm going to be back again in January for more Musical Mondays videos, but I'm still going to be doing a lot of stuff throughout the rest of November and December. Like I said, today I did a bunch of updates on TPT products that are already out there and added a new one, including this one, which you can get for only $2 until midnight tonight, which is these like cute little musical symbols inside colorful light bulbs, like holiday lights, like twinkle lights. And I put them out. These, however, you could I put these out as a bulletin board, but you could absolutely cut these out and put them in the center. You could do review. I mean, there's so many things you could do with them, but they're there if you want them, because I'm in this moment of it's end of semester and I'm trying to stay active and do more stuff and updates because it's my break. So anyway, all that to say, it's been a super fun time these last 15 weeks, and I hope you got some cool stuff out of it or ideas. And you can always come back and check the archives if you want more. If you're like, but how can you be done? There's more in the archives for the last 7 years. Anyway, if you want more. Okay, but that's all for tonight, and thanks so much for everyone who submitted questions. And I will be back in January with more Musical Mondays videos. If you want to catch me before then, check out my blog, makemomentsmatter.org, or plan to see me next spring at a workshop near you. I'm going to be all the way from East Coast to West Coast. So I'm excited. I hope you'll come and join us at one of those workshops. All right, have a great night, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving, and I'll see y'all in January. Bye, everyone.